Without a doubt, one of the weirdest and refreshing episodes of Combatants will be dispatched. When they were focusing on this party for the evil organization, I thought it might last a minute or two. I was not expecting it to be an entire episode, and I come out saying what even was that live stream and why did Lilith go to this degree? From comments being made talking about how, she has a normal body and she can't compete with these porn star bodies, to her literally hacking votes. The votes were so much more than the members they had, and when those votes were removed, she literally hired more than they could afford, and all they had to do was make sure that they voted for Lilith. And how are you going to pay for it? We're not going to pay for it. We're evil. Why do we have to pay anyone? These warriors are replaceable. You guys are too soft. And she's not wrong, but that live stream, I don't even know what to say about it. It literally is a pure fan service episode. There's boobs, there's butts, there's every type of shot you would want. You're a thigh guy, you got your thighs, you got your asses, you got your tits. Everything you want to see is in this episode, but it was presented in such a comedic way, in such an evil way, because when you look at a lot of the situations, is it really all that evil? And to see characters other than Six in them gain evil points, literally from their world gaining evil points, it's nice that the system is in place in such a degree that as this girl is literally, she's gaining the algorithm, she's really manipulating it to her advantage. You give a little bit of a freebie, a teaser of what you can see if you subscribe to her channel. And when you do, it's just it's pure comedy gold. You take a trope that we've seen time and time again. Bunch of pretty girls, generally one main character. And usually there's one who has a very obvious crush on said character. And instead of just going the typical, oh, she has a crush and everyone knows it, but they don't really do anything with it, instead, they say, you know what, we're gonna get her drunk, and we're gonna make her say on live television, basically, to the world, how she feels about Six, and Six is just gonna let that go to his head. And as he says, he's going to be using that recording every single day, and if we know anything about Six and what he's requested in from porn mags to other material, it's not just gonna be so his head gets bigger, it's going to be so he can relieve some stress, if you know what I'm saying. It's actually kind of interesting that a situation where the only two locations we have, the first is just their room with a computer. We have Tiger Man, Alice, and Six just watching in, having some sideline commentary, as you have a rooftop beach party, basically. There was nothing all that interesting about the scenery, yet it was a very entertaining episode. It almost came across as everything that we've seen at the end of every episode for the most part, other than this week, because this week's episode has an after the credits scene that's focused on Alice and them, and how Alice is basically confessing to the fact that they can go into the negative, but she's willingly doing it, so if they ever need to use that system again, that someone like Six will owe her big. Generally, it's focusing on the company side, and you get the preview / kind of funny moments. And this episode was basically an entire episode of that. And for a set of characters, these three, who have been fun, but I've never really looked at them as being the star of the show, more of a supporting sideline that's kind of fun to interact with every so often, but they've never been anything I've been overly invested in. Lilith, for sure, has definitely risen up the ladder of characters who are very, very memorable in this show. But the other two, between the fiery and icy cold, just everything about their temper was amazing, and to see the way they found out that they were being recorded, I mean, I thought it was rather obvious from the get-go, but then again, they've been drinking, they've been partying, and, she does have these, octopus-like tentacles, maybe they just didn't think anything of it, but the revelation as she walks to the edge and you see that she's on camera, I love it, from the embarrassment of just literally soaking yourself in water to just wanting to beat the living shit. It was a stupid ass party, but I have to say it was entertaining. And you end with seemingly heroes coming in to crash the party. So where do you go from here? I mean, the preview from what we can see indicates that we'll be focusing more on Six's side next week. But I have a feeling that the after the credits preview next week will definitely touch upon the results of this battle, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what they're gonna do. I mean, Combatants Will Be Dispatched is a stupid show, and it wants to be stupid. It takes the idea of stupidity, and it rolls with it. And I love how one character who you can look at and say, well, 6 has some of the most outrageous and outlandish behaviors, but sometimes what he's saying can make him look like the most sane person in the room. And sometimes when he was speaking about what was happening on screen, I mean, you couldn't help but say, you know, I hate to admit it, but this man's speaking some facts right now. I've seen some people, you know, I actually had a comment this week that said the reason they don't like Combatants Will Be Dispatched and why they like Konosuba is because Konosuba has a realistic story and Combatants doesn't have a realistic story. And I'm like, you know, it's fine if you don't like the show, but when you're saying things like realism in either of these shows, I have to wonder, what are you smoking? Because, you know, that's kind of part of the charm, is that it's just like you're fighting demons and, you know, you're trying to either stop the end of the world or you're just trying to kind of cause the end of the world as you have ridiculous just jokes take place. Like, this show is absolutely fantastic and I really, really hope we get a second season. I mean, this is one of those shows that I could honestly see a spin-off working as well, because I wouldn't have said it before this episode, but watching this episode and seeing the actual company, from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle looking characters who are talking about how they're not lolicons, to the bosses of this organization not really feeling all that evil, I think it would be very interesting to even see like an OVA miniseries, like a few episodes, what the day in, day out life of them are, because it could be really, really entertaining. But of course, I want a main season 2 because I need to see more of Agent 6. I need to see if he'll ever top the top-knot joke. I need to see where this world will go, because based on the end of the episode, you know, they're gonna defeat the heroes, he's gonna, you know, conquer that world. But everything just doesn't play by rules, even for their own standards, so it'll be interesting to see where they're gonna go. You could have told me last week that I'd come up here and say, hey, if we're focusing more or less not on Agent 6's side, but rather the company's, I would probably be mildly entertained. I probably wouldn't rave about it. I wouldn't say it's all that great. But honestly, it was a pretty memorable episode. It was actually a refreshing episode 10. With 2 episodes left to go, it'll be interesting to see where they're going to leave us off. And depending on, you know, how Kadokawa's going to move going forward, we know they're trying to produce a shit ton of anime. I would say just from a business standpoint, there's probably a good chance of this getting a second season. But then again, you know, anything could happen. But crossing my fingers, hoping for more. Characters are great, and I mean, the fact that they're making characters who I thought were just kind of sideline goofballs feel a little more memorable and kind of have their own personalities, even if they are kind of shitty, was kind of great. And, you know, as much as I hate to say it, Lilith was right, they are an evil organization, so I guess slave labor doesn't, you know, it's kind of okay for them. Let me know your thoughts and feelings on this week's episode of Combatants Will Be Dispatched. What was your favorite moment, and were you as surprised with this episode's direction as it was for me? Because honestly, it was weird, but I have to say that live stream made it worth it. Let me know though down below. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, share your support, and hit that subscribe button if you happen new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.